Hi everyone, my name is Julia M. Spencer. I'm a real estate advisor, investor, and your number one source for real estate advice online. And this video, we're going to talk about how to form an LLC. Now, mind you, before I get into the topic of this video, I am not an attorney, I'm not a real estate agent, I'm not in any way licensed to give you advice, so use that at your discretion, the information. I am, however, a real estate investor. I have been investing in real estate for many, many years, over 20 years, so my information is good information as far as I'm concerned, but make sure that you verify what you hear from me with a qualified person if you have any doubts. Now, this question is actually answering a subscriber's question, an email I got the other day from a Felicia Cook. Hi, Felicia. My name is Julia. Of course, you already know that. So your question was, and I'm going to read it for the rest of the people here so everybody may have a benefit with this, is, hi, Julia. I was wondering if you can provide some feedback on LLCs, as I have purchased some tax sale liens, land only, and also am in the process of actually purchasing a land from a seller. I would like to put these in an LLC, but don't know much about how it all works. Any feedback will be most appreciated. Thank you, and have a good day. So, hi Felicia. So we're going to answer that question really briefly. Now, the easiest way to form an LLC right off the back is to just contact your attorney if you have already somebody on retainer that works for you, and just have them do it for you. That's the easiest way. Now, the second easiest way is what I usually do, what I have done is I have went to LegalZoom.com. Now, I'm not affiliated with that company in any way. I don't get any kickbacks. I don't get any royalties or any kind of payments from them for advertising them. It's just the company that I've always used. And I believe their website is LegalZoom.com. I'm going to look it up real quick for you. It's just basically a website where you can speak to an attorney. You can also kind of do wills and trusts, business formations, things like that, and also set up a limited liability company. Now, of course, you don't have to use them, and you also don't have to use an attorney if you want to do this all on your own, which might be a good thing because you might be able to learn something from the whole process. There's a couple of steps, and there's actually 5 steps that I want to talk about in this video. So the first step, actually, let's just talk really briefly why you would even want an LLC. So a lot of people use LLCs to place their assets into those LLCs in order to make sure that their personal assets are separated from their business assets. That way, if they should get sued or if something happens to make those assets vulnerable, for example, in any way, that your personal assets aren't touched because they're separate from the business entity that you're creating. So you're basically creating a business entity, a business, an LLC. It could be an LLC, it could be another business entity too, it could just be a corporation or something that separates your personal belongings from the belongings of the business. And it's a smart thing to do. I've actually made a video, I think I'm at the Kennedy Space Center, I believe, where I discuss whether or not it's advisable to do a separate LLC for each property that you buy, or if you should just buy like a parent LLC where you put all of them in. It just depends on how much money you want to spend, how vulnerable you think those assets are going to be to attack by somebody that may want to sue you and things like that. So that I go into that with that video. I can put that video at the bottom of this one so you can watch it too. But let me just go over the 5 steps of how to form an LLC. The first step is you got to think of a name. Now, some states have different regulations of what kind of name you want to make for an LLC. It's basically the business name. So you got to think of something catchy, but of course states have different regulations. You can't call them, the F-bomb word business or the S-bomb word business or something. You can't do that. You have to kind of follow the rules. And also what will happen is when you request a name, of course, it will be checked against the database to see if there's maybe another business that has the same name. Of course, then you won't be granted that name because there can't be 2 businesses in the same state with the same name. that would be kind of confusing for everybody. And then you basically choose that. If the business name that you want is available, you basically choose that and make sure that it complies with your state's LLC rules. And I believe it's the state commissioner where you can look these things up. You can just do a Google search. So Felicia, I didn't know what state you were in actually, so I can't really tell you who it's going to be for your state, but I can tell you for my state of Georgia is the state commissioner, or the Department of State actually, for the state of Georgia. So let's go to the second step. What's the next step that you have to do? So you have to file formal paperwork. It's usually called the Articles of Incorporation or Organization, and pay the filing fee. So the second thing you have to do is file formal paperwork, like I said, of anywhere between $100 to $800, depending on what state you're in, to file those articles of organization. Now, I can tell you from the beginning, when I filed my very first, for my very first LLC, I had written the articles of organization and I put that paper away, never to be found again. And I never needed it until I actually started to buy and sell properties. And then the closing attorneys, of course, want to see those articles of organization and incorporation, because they want to know who the actual owners are of that LLC, so they know who to distribute any money to, and also who's actually authorized to go into legal transactions on behalf of that legal entity. That's a very important step. The next thing that you need to do is create an LLC operating agreement, which sets out the rights and responsibilities of the LLC members. Again, it's kind of like an extension of the Articles of Incorporation, which basically just state who's doing what, who sets up the meetings, who is responsible to keep track of minutes, who is the CFO, and all this other stuff. If it's just you, LLCs are really mainly for companies that have more than one person. If it's just you, then you are just a single person LLC, I guess. And attorneys, please correct me if you're watching this. In the eyes of the IRS, single person owned LLC is a disregarded tax entity, because the money just passes through from the LLC to you, profit or loss that is, for your own tax return, and you don't have to file a separate tax return. Now, if there's more than one owner of the LLC, then you do have to file a tax return, and it just adds money and hassle. So I was doing the LLC in the beginning with my then husband. Now I'm by myself, so it's gotten a lot easier without a husband. Anyways, third step is to create the fourth step, where you just did the third step, is to publish a notice of your intent to form an LLC, which is required in only a few states. So you have to check again to see if that's required in your state. If you use that LegalZoom company, they'll do all that for you, and it's included in their fee. I think I paid like $500 for them, and they did everything. So you can do this, of course, yourself. You can pay somebody to do it. It's going to cost you, a couple $100. And the last thing is you need to obtain licenses and permits that may be required for your business. And that just depends on what kind of business you're setting up. As a real estate investor, there's really no licenses that you need unless you're trying to sell properties for other people. If you're going to do that, and just be careful with the whole wholesaling business, because that could be considered as you trying to sell properties for other people, depending how you structure your legal paperwork and everything. So just be careful with that. Make sure you ask an attorney. But if you're trying to sell properties for other people, then you will have to get a real estate license in your state where you are. Otherwise, you definitely cannot do that. Now, you can, of course, sell and buy your own real estate without a license. That's not a problem. But if you do it for other people, then the law gets involved and you'll have to do that. So I hope I answered that question. That's how you do it. You can go to just to summarize, you can go to that LegalZoom.com website. I'm sure there's probably other websites too that do it and services. I just have always used LegalZoom for the last 15 years, and they're still around, so I'm guessing they're good. But I do have an attorney now that does these things, and I prefer to just let my attorney handle it. That way, if there's a problem or an issue or a mistake, then I can just tell them to fix it and kind of blame it on them too. So, in any case, hope this helped. Make sure you go to my website, bottom of this video, juliamspencer.com. Subscribe to my newsletter. Check out my ebooks. There's sales coming up if you subscribe, so make sure you do that. And if you have additional questions, leave them at the bottom of this video. I look forward to read them, and I very much appreciate being part of your journey to become successful in real estate. And I hope to see you investing very successfully very soon. Have a great day. And thanks for the question, Felicia.
For your free guide to real estate investing, visit juliamspencer.com.